Tennessee might have lost to Georgia, but ESPN's matchup predictor still loves the Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, happy Wednesday morning and welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, your number one spot for Tennessee football news and entertainment weekday mornings when you wake up and after football games on Saturday evenings. I appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch each and every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcast. You guys know this. Today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can download the app today. I am your host, Eric Cain, a member of the VolQuest.com team here in town covering your Tennessee Volunteers. Today's episode is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one for sure. I have the wrong, if you're watching on YouTube right now, going to do some live editing right here in the show. I've got the wrong background on because Josh Ward's coming up in segment number 3. That's a good way to kind of transition that. Josh Ward, segment number 3, Ward Wednesday. Here we go. ESPN's updated matchup predictor. See how those percentages change following the loss to Georgia. Some of them go down, but still, Tennessee's favored to win all but one more game left on the schedule. Chris Brazzell, could he be the next Jalen Hyatt? Boy, Todd McShay loving some Chris Brazzell CB2 right now, as he put out on social media the other day. All that and more coming up here on a Wednesday show. All right, so ESPN's matchup predictor has changed. The Volunteers lost to Georgia in overtime, 44-41. But as we talked about on yesterday's show, as I'll ask Josh Ward here coming up in segment number 3, do you feel better or do you feel worse about Tennessee than you did Saturday morning? Since the end of the game, do you feel better or worse? For me, I feel better. Like, I know some of the limitations defensively right now. I know they got to get healthy. But, and Josh brings this up into the last point we make on the show, and I think it's the most important point. Like, the quarterback, that question answered and then some. Like, I just continue to go back in the offseason, and I was super, super high on the potential and the makeup of what Nico Iamaleava could be. I never said that he had arrived. I never said that he was playing what was expected of him last year. But I always kind of had the caveat, man, if he figures it out, if he continues to grow and develop, he didn't turn the football over much, but if he continues to grow and develop, who knows how good he could be here at Tennessee. He leaves, big-time question marks about, number one, who's your quarterback going to be? You go out and get Joey Aguilar, and then you're saying, okay, well, I see his makeup, some turnovers, high touchdown rate, throws for a lot of passing yards. We see his story. It's a great story. He wants to be here. Okay, that's all great. Can he produce at this level? Against Syracuse, looked great. Sure, that's not an SEC game, but it's a Power 4 opponent. Looked great against Syracuse. ETSU did what you're supposed to. And then my question was, what's Joey Aguilar look like against Georgia? And if this is one SEC game, there are plenty more, 7 more to be in fact. So you've got to continue to sustain and continue to build. But what Joey Aguilar did against Georgia on Saturday, almost 400 yards passing, 5 total touchdowns, sign me up. Tennessee's getting better quarterback play than I could possibly imagine this year. Early in the season, but I mean, Tennessee has literally got a better quarterback than I could have possibly ever imagined in mid-April, May last year. And that's a credit to Joey Aguilar, credit for Tennessee getting him out of the portal and kind of lucking up a little bit, right? I mean, again, it's kind of a trade. Nico goes there. What's the presumed starting quarterback going to do at UCLA? Hits the portal. Well, he comes here. It's kind of simple in that regard. But Tennessee is really fortunate right now to have Joey Aguilar. So I feel better about the Volunteers right now than I did Saturday morning. What says ESPN's matchup predictor? Now, ESPN's matchup predictor, again, after every single game, this is used by the FBI, Football Power Index over there at ESPN, and it changes after every single time the team plays. Tennessee is still favored to win every single game left on the schedule, but one, and that's at Alabama. I'll get to that here in a moment. Tennessee was actually, according to ESPN's matchup predictor, predicted to beat Georgia. Tennessee lost to Georgia by 3 points in overtime, but let's remember Tennessee had the game won 3 or 4 different times and just couldn't finish it, right? And so I thought that percentage was fairly accurate. It was about as close to 50% as it could possibly be. But according to ESPN's matchup predictor, following the Georgia loss, Tennessee last week was a 98.4% chance of victory over UAB this week. Following the Georgia loss, that percentage actually went up to 98.7. So obviously Tennessee is a big favorite, 37.5 favorite according to our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Tennessee goes up in percentage following the Georgia loss. That's only one of 2 games where the percentage actually goes up, which is interesting. But again, even though the percentages are about to go down that I'm going to talk about, Tennessee is still favored to win these games for the most part. At Mississippi State, heading into last week, Tennessee had an 81.2% chance to win on the road at Mississippi State. Now, Tennessee is given a 76.8% chance to win on the road. Mississippi State look good. Healthy quarterback. Defense is much improved because historically it was about one of the worst defenses put out there, okay, in 2024. Mississippi State under Jeff Lebby is much improved, and they got a good quarterback if he can stay healthy. So on the road, that's obviously I saw a post at VolQuest the other day, and I thought this was really interesting. I thought it was a really good point. Everybody's talking about Mississippi State being a trap game. Better don't stub your toe. Better watch out. Well, by definition, that can't be a trap game because everybody's talking about it, right? Everybody can be nervous about that game. But like Arkansas last year was 1,000% a trap game because nobody in their right mind picked Tennessee to lose that game. But on the road in the SEC, specifically this team, I mean, it's always hard to win on the road in the SEC, and Tennessee's obviously lost more on the road than it has at home. But prior to last week, 81.2% chance to win at Mississippi State. Now it's 76.8% chance. You still like those odds. Arkansas at home. Prior to last week, 73.3%. Now it's 72.8%. So it moved half a point. Tennessee's still a big favorite at home over Arkansas. On the road at Alabama. This one's interesting. Based on what Alabama did against UL Monroe or whoever they played 2 weeks ago, and based on what Tennessee did against ETSU, I think Alabama won 73-0. Tennessee won 72-17. I mean, what can you take away from that, right? Tennessee was favored to beat Alabama on the road according to ESPN's matchup predictor going into that week. And then after that week, when Tennessee and Alabama both just beat the crap out of an FCS opponent, Alabama flipped back to being the favorite. I didn't quite understand that. So leaving that week 2 matchup last week, entering week 3, Alabama was given a 63.0% chance to win, meaning Tennessee only had a 52.7% chance of winning. Actually, no, that's wrong. That's not how math works. Whatever that percentage is, 63, 100 minus 63, I'm not going to do that on the spot, 43% chance, whatever it is. Tennessee's gone down a percentage again this week after the loss to Georgia and after Alabama beat Wisconsin. Tennessee has gone down to 33%, which, again, is not horrible given the history of this road matchup, given Tennessee's struggles at Bryant-Denny Stadium. No, I don't know what the percentage was. I'm trying to go back and think, and I don't have the tab open anymore. I don't know what the percentage was for Tennessee last week, but I know Alabama was favored. But I do know it went down this week, and Tennessee now only has a 33.6% chance to win on the road, according to ESPN's matchup predictor. We always knew that was going to be a big-time pivotal matchup, especially a place you haven't won since 03. So we'll see what happens there. That's the only one that was significant in my data that I've looked at here. When I did the show yesterday, when I recorded the show on a Tuesday. Let's go down to Kentucky on the road. Prior to this week, Tennessee was a 78% chance to win on the road at Kentucky. Following this week, Tennessee goes down just 77.1% chance, so not even a full point. Tennessee's still a heavy road favorite in that one. At home against Oklahoma, that's some significant drop-off here. I think this is interesting. Oklahoma has proven to be looking really good, right? Oklahoma, the percentage of chance for Tennessee to win that game following week 2 was 75.3. Now, after the loss to Georgia, ESPN matchup predictor gives Tennessee a 64.3% chance to win. So, over 10 percentage points, Tennessee goes down. Nothing that I saw from Tennessee against Georgia what makes me think this team is significantly worse. Oklahoma continues to look good, but they just played Temple on the road. Oklahoma's winning against Michigan, Michigan. I mean, that was very impressive. But I don't know if I would move it down almost 10 percentage points, especially when this game's going to be at home after Tennessee loses at home by 3 to Georgia and Oklahoma just beats the crap out of Temple on the road in a game that was never in jeopardy. So I don't know. That's interesting. But Tennessee does drop the percentage, but still given a better chance to win that game than Oklahoma. Much better than 50-50. New Mexico State line stays, not line, but the New Mexico State percentages stay the same. It was 99% for Tennessee last week. It is 99% for Tennessee this week. Tennessee's percentage actually climbed. I found this interesting for the Florida game in the Swamp November 22nd. Prior to last week, Tennessee was given a 64.1% chance to win. Following the loss to Georgia, Tennessee is now given a 68.1% chance to win. Now, keep in mind, Florida lost to USF. Florida lost on the road to LSU by 10 points, turning the football over 5 times. I think that's more of a detriment to LSU, that LSU didn't run away with that game, despite Florida turning it over 5 times. I found that one interesting. I think that's pretty neat. Tennessee has actually climbed in the percentages as a heavy road favorite, according to the ESPN matchup predictor, at Florida later this year. And then the percentages climbed down almost 10 points against Vanderbilt. Tennessee was given a 78.9% chance to beat Vanderbilt last week. Now it's 69.4% chance as Vanderbilt continues to look good. A big road win at South Carolina, and then, of course, coming off what it did to Virginia Tech the week before. So, again, Tennessee's still favored to win all but one game left on the schedule. ESPN matchup predictor has Tennessee winning 10 games this year. The only loss coming at Alabama on the 3rd Saturday in October. But, of course, the game is never played just on paper. But I always find that interesting. I always want to bring it to the show to kind of go back and forth and say, okay, well, how did that game on Saturday impact Tennessee the rest of the way, according to the ESPN matchup predictor? Hope you guys enjoyed that. When we come back, is Chris Brazzell the next Jalen Hyatt? Think about this. I'll show my work. That's coming up next right here on your Locked On Vols. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breath work to athletes, I sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, where you move and be moved. Big shout out to Mazda. Big shout out to our friends over at DoorDash. It is almost that time of the weekend. We got to get back to the football field, but first let's look back to last week's MVP, who delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. I mean, again, we continue to talk about Chris Brazzell. 3 touchdown catches, the hat trick, 177 yards off 6 receptions. He was fantastic. No hesitation, no delay. And again, if you've been watching week after week, this wasn't a fluke. Chris Brazzell, he is on a streak, just like DoorDash. Just like Chris Brazzell delivers for Tennessee, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday when you order. Stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period ends November the 18th. All right, guys, welcome back into your Wednesday Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Derek Cain, having some fun here. Got Josh Ward coming up in segment number 3. I always love getting the glasses out, getting the pocket protectors out, looking at the spreadsheets, talking about ESPN's matchup predictor and the football power index. I just think that's a neat little element that we can throw into the show. Tennessee obviously still a favorite to win in all but one games left on the schedule, and that, of course, that one hiccup could, according to ESPN's matchup predictor, be at Alabama. Of course, Tennessee's not won there since 2003. We'll see what happens. That's coming up on the 3rd Saturday in October. All right, so Todd McShay, count him as a Chris Brazzell fan, big time. He went on social media, did some film breakdowns, and he was all about Chris Brazzell. And, of course, Todd McShay, longtime NFL draft analyst and researcher, reporter, personality for ESPN. Not really sure what he does now. I think he's kind of doing his own venture now, but brings a lot of credibility in terms of the NFL draft when we look at some of these college players. Todd McShay blown away by Chris Brazzell II's performance on Saturday against Georgia. On social media, he put, quote, "Will CB2 be WR1 next April? Chris Brazzell II has my full attention." He goes on to say, he's breaking down an out route earlier in the game. He says, quote, "In and out of his break, fluid hips, and then the acrobatic catch." That was in the first quarter the other day on an out route when he just kind of blew by a Georgia cornerback and kind of stuck that foot in there and then hit the sideline. He goes on to say, quote, "The other thing is this guy can run. Watch him on tape. He's on top of the Georgia defensive back, and then coming back to the football, adjusts, makes the play on the football, and that balances after the catch." Obviously, Chris Brazzell II made a really, really nice catch, kind of fighting the ball away on a go route in that football game. I think that was his third touchdown catch. His second one was in the back of the end zone. His first was his first touchdown reception was on that was a 72-yard pass. Oh, it's a 56-yard pass when he kind of just took it away. He's shown the ability to take the top off the defense, use his speed, but also I've been really, really impressed with how he's just muscling the football away. I thought he and Mike Matthews played with a big-time physicality against Georgia, and typically it's Georgia's cornerbacks that have all the physicality against Tennessee wide receivers. They've dominated this matchup out on the perimeter. Tennessee won that matchup this week, that is for sure. And Chris Brazzell is a massive, massive reason for that. Again, he went on for 6 catches, 177 yards, and 3 touchdowns against Georgia. That's a really, really great breakout type game. So far on the season, he has 20 catches, 364 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Last year, in 13 games, he caught 29 passes for 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's already 9 receptions away from tying his reception total from last year. He's already surpassed his yards and surpassed his touchdowns. And again, he's played 3 games this year where he played 13 games a season ago. 62 yards on 5 catches against Syracuse, 9 catches for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns against ETSU. And then, of course, on Saturday, he had 6 catches, 177 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Last year, his season high was 5 catches for 63 yards against Kent State. I've been blown away by him. I question his physicality. I question he's a confidence player. When things are going well for Chris Brazzell, he'll tell you about it. He's feeling it. When things aren't going well, I think sometimes his lack of confidence can hurt him. He's fully confident this year. And if you can go out there and do that against a team like Georgia, defensive backfield coached by Kirby Smart, there's no reason you should ever lose confidence again this year because you know you can do it. And I've just been blown away by him, man. I had some serious questions. Like, I love the makeup of Mike Matthews. I know Mike Matthews is kind of third on stat-wise in the wide receiver room right now in terms of catches and yards and touchdowns and all that, behind Braylon Staley and Chris Brazzell. But I think Mike Matthews has shown his physicality up. Again, I continue to use muscle. I mean, he came back to the football a couple times and wrestled the football away from a defender the other day. Like, his aggressiveness and physicality I've been super, super impressed with, along with Chris Brazzell. Braylon Staley's done a great job in the slot. That slot position's a boom for sure for Tennessee. And, of course, Chris Brazzell's been the nicest surprise of this football team outside of Joey Aguilar, in my opinion. So I say all this to say, could he be this year's Jalin Hyatt? Now, Jalin Hyatt burst onto the scene in one of those big-time rivalry games. Of course, his stat line was better. The game was more legendary. The game will forever be remembered for Tennessee fans and college football fans alike. Tennessee snaps the streak against Alabama, winning on a walk-off 40-yard field goal. And Jalin Hyatt had 5 catches on 6 targets for 207 yards and 5 touchdowns. Excuse me, I think he had 6 receptions on 7 targets, 5 touchdowns. My point is, his stat line is better. The game was won by Tennessee, but that was his breakout game. Nobody was talking about Jalin Hyatt before that game. And then after that game, he was on midseason All-American list. He was on NFL draft boards. Now, Chris Brazzell, 6 catches, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns against Georgia. Where is he going to propel to? McShay is all about it, man. He says, quote, "A lot of good receivers in the 2026 class. None I've seen so far have this guy's talent." Talking about Chris Brazzell. Think about some of these receivers in the class right now. You've got Arizona State's Jordan Tyson, Auburn's Eric Singleton Jr., Ohio State's Carnell Tate. Tennessee fans know that name. USC's Micaiah Lemon and Jacoby Lane. Louisville's Chris Bell. Washington's Denzel Boston. Clemson's Antonio Williams. Alabama's Jeremy Bernard. A lot of good wide receivers in that group. And Tom McShay says, quote, "None I've seen so far have this guy's talent." Now, again, Jeremiah Smith is not draft eligible. Ryan Williams is not draft eligible. There's some young receivers that are not draft eligible. But Chris Brazzell, moving up some draft boards. Todd McShay is a believer. And could he be the Jalin Hyatt the rest of the year because of this breakout game? Just like Hyatt's breakout game was Alabama, 2022. Brazzell's breakout game was Georgia with the hat trick and 177 yards receiving. Could that carry him throughout the season and on up the draft boards for NFL wide receivers? We will see. We will see. I think it's really, really cool and interesting for sure. All right. When we come back, Josh Ward, going to catch up with him, ask him about what his thoughts were on Tennessee's loss to Georgia. All that and more coming up next right here as we continue on. This is your Wednesday Locked On Vols. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop and on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. Amen, amen. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorizations of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Check it out today. Promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com. Josh Ward on for Ward Wednesday here on Locked On Vols every single week, and obviously a tough one on Saturday. Josh, it's unfortunate you and I were talking before we hit record. Tennessee, again, had it one couple of different times. I think that's what's different. You leave this game in years past, and you're like, man, Tennessee's not even in this ballpark. Not only was Tennessee in the ballpark, Tennessee should have won the game. Give Georgia credit. Georgia made plays. Tennessee allowed them to hang around. Georgia made plays. Georgia won the football game. But I think that's what's the most frustrating part for Tennessee fans, is you should have won this football game.
Yeah, there are several things you can point to. You can simply point to a field goal at the end of the fourth quarter, and if that kick is good, Tennessee wins the game. And that is true. We can also then point to other things that either made that field goal more difficult or left Tennessee in a position where it needed that field goal to win it, at least in regulation. There's also the overtime opportunity, but then that gives Georgia new life. So that's what's frustrating, out of also realizing Tennessee played really well overall against what I believe is a really good team. It's no doubt a really talented team, but the drive that allowed Georgia to come down and score and then tied up with the 2-point conversion. There's the fourth down play that has to be frustrating. There's the 2-point conversion where, Tennessee gives up the touchdown. You can still get a stop on a 2-point conversion, and you've got the lead with the ball, and you don't need a field goal. You just take a knee at the end of the game. So we can keep going, as people know at this point, over several days. That's the frustrating part. The good part is that Tennessee showed what it's capable of, and Tennessee still has a manageable schedule. Not easy, and now Tennessee has a loss in its record, but a big opportunity where I think a lot of people see more possibilities for this team now than when we had this conversation a month ago.
Tennessee scores and it kicks the PAT to go 35-30, and this has been a big talking point the first part of this week and leaving the game Saturday. Well, should have went for two. What's going on? Kicking the extra point does nothing there. And I understand hindsight's 20/20. I briefly thought, man, maybe they should go for two in real time. Didn't give it much thought though, because I was like, okay, well, you kick here, say you get a field goal, which is what happened later on. You're still making Georgia have to earn everything. Remember, this is a Georgia team that had not scored a touchdown in the second half since the opening possession. Tennessee's defense, for all of its faults on Saturday, played some pretty decent football in the middle portion of that second half, just wasn't consistent enough. So I didn't have that big of an issue with it, because you still, if you got that field goal, it's an 8-point game. They still had to score. They still had to get the 2-point conversion, and unfortunately that all happened. What's your take on this? Analytics would tell you to go for two. I thought about it. I didn't put too much stock into it, because I still thought, man, you got to make Georgia earn everything. And again, the unfortunate part is Georgia did exactly that.
Yeah, I thought about it in the moment. I didn't think much of it. And even after the fact, I think very little of it. So if he had gone for two, if Josh Heupel decided to go for two, fine. Maybe they get it, maybe they don't. There's a chance they don't get it, and you're at 34, and a field goal only leaves it a 7-point lead. I think also the reason I say that it's a little bit hindsight to have this conversation is that we know how things played out, and we know it's an 8-point lead, but we can't assume Tennessee would have gotten it. I think there's too much assumption that Tennessee would have gotten it. We have no way of knowing, of course. So that's just way down on the list of things I'm thinking about and what ended up keeping Tennessee from winning the game. I give it little to no thought in terms of the impact on the game, because Tennessee did get the point, and then Tennessee does get the field goal, to your point there, to leave to have a 38 to 30 lead, an 8-point advantage. Tennessee is in a great spot when it's kicking off, leading 38-30. Tennessee just didn't get it done with that 38-30 lead.
Yeah, again, you had a 2-touchdown lead in the first quarter. 4th and 6, get off the field. 2 third downs before that on that drive, get off the field. Stop a 2-point conversion, get off the field, make a kick.
Allowing Zachariah Branch earlier in the game. If we go over 4 quarters, there are a lot of things that happen, which would I think be obvious in a 44-41 overtime game. That's why I think we have to be careful about that kind of critical decision-making, questioning it after the fact. Again, I thought in the moment, hey, maybe they'll go for 2 here. But when they took the point, at no point there did I think, oh, that could come back to bite them. I thought, okay, they're up 35-30, go get a stop. Tennessee did that. Not only got a stop, but got the ball back in Georgia territory. So from there, after kicking the extra point, Tennessee's defense did its job. Tennessee did what Josh Heupel wanted it to do. It just couldn't close out. Tennessee made mistakes late down the stretch, offensive procedural penalties a couple of times, and all those things added up against a Georgia team that was ready for that moment, having to make big plays. Georgia did that.
And that leads me into my next point. 35-30, you just got a strip sack fumble, plus side of the 50. Procedural penalty put him behind the sticks, and that's unfortunate. This is where I will be critical. And I understand Josh Heupel gave his reasoning, and he knows he's forgotten more football than I'll ever know. I get all that. But in the same sense, I'm not really buying it. 2 high safety brackets. You know what's there? 2 high safety brackets, middle of the field, where you had some success in this football game. Joey Aguilar was, I think, 4 for his last 4 entering that drive. He was hot. Chris Brazzell was obviously hot. I mean, Tennessee's offense is kind of humming along. Why not take a few shots? Why not throw the football? And he did say that if 3rd down was better, he had a play that he was going to go for it on 4th down, and you had a missed block there from the left guard on 3rd down. And, who's to know what would happen? But I just sit here, and I'm like, man, we've seen this before. And certainly I think Josh Heupel's a really good coach. I just think in that drive of the football game, boy, that's when I'd be like, man, I'd love to go back and do things differently, because it's just not a good look when you could have had the knockout blow. You run it 3 times, even after a procedural penalty. You do get the points. That was the most important thing. You got the points. It's just, I remember sitting there in the press box. I'm like, come on now. Like put the foot on the gas a little bit, right?
Yeah, I have no issue with anything you just said there. I don't have a strong opinion either way, which is probably what you're looking for here. But here's the thing.
Hot takes, Josh. Come on, hot takes.
Right. I would like to see that drive without the penalty to see if that changes what Josh Heupel does when they immediately get knocked back 5 yards. The margin for error is thin. Like if we fast forward 2 plays, let's say on 3rd and 8, Josh Heupel says, okay, let's attack here. Let's go through the air to pick up the first down on this play. Who's to say Umarov doesn't get beaten there and Aguilar gets sacked, and all of a sudden you're in a position where are you kicking the field goal? It would be tougher on Gilbert if you're asking him on a field goal there. And then, again, that's 3rd down. You could say 1st down, 1st and 15. Go for a quick pass, try to pick up the yardage there where it's more of a second and manageable. But to me, part of the issue is that the execution was poor on what Josh Heupel was calling. But on a 1st and 10, if they run those same 3 plays on a 1st and 10, which may have been the plan, who knows, then there's a good chance they're either picking up a 1st down or in a position where maybe they do go for it on 4th down. But the TV camera caught Josh Heupel's face. He was very frustrated on the execution. I'm guessing it's the blocking on that 3rd down call. And if the blocking is right, then maybe they do go for it on 4th down, and we're not talking about being conservative as much. So I get every point that you made, and I've heard that, and I think they're fair points. And that's not a hindsight is 2020. That's an in the moment. A lot of people thought go for the jugular here. But in this case, I think that Tennessee got out of there with 3 points. The penalty to me was the most costly thing on that drive.
Yeah, and to a counter to what you just said, hey, if the blocks hold up every play, it's a touchdown every play, right? I mean,
Well, not against Georgia's defense, but
I was trying to be funny. It wasn't a good joke. The joke did not land there.
Yeah, no, but I just that's part of it is if we get to the injury conversation, if anybody's asking, well, do they still want David Sanders out there? They do, because the best offensive line for Tennessee, this is not to attack Umarov, but he is a backup offensive lineman. He's starting because Sanders is out, and I think that's probably a factor. At different points in the game, there was pressure on Aguilar. We saw that in overtime on the 3rd down play. Part of it is making sure you do get some points. And with the penalty knocking them back 5 yards, if they get to Aguilar in the backfield, that could cause Tennessee to not have any points in that drive. And then you give the ball back to Georgia. with only a touchdown needed to take the lead, and that could be a big problem. So that's why I don't disagree with anything you said, but I also don't have a big issue with how Josh Heupel handled that possession either.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things I want to talk to you about, but unfortunately, we're not going to have time. I'd love to talk about the defense specifically. I liked a lot what I saw from the defensive line, given the injury situation. I love what I saw from the edge players. They still need to set the edge a little bit better, and some of that safety and linebacker too. I don't think the linebackers had a good day. I thought Hood and Redmond got picked on. We knew it was going to happen. Thought that Red and Hood played way too many snaps. I cannot fathom why Jalen McMurray's not playing corner right now to help. I'm not saying bench Ty Redmond. I'm just saying Ty Redmond, third game ever in his college career, played 94 snaps. McMurray should be playing at least 20 snaps at corner, in my opinion. So anyway, I'd love to talk about all that, but here's what I'm going to end with, and this is my topic yesterday, Josh. Despite the loss, 44-41 in overtime, do you feel better about Tennessee today than you did Saturday morning?
I want to quickly say, to your point on the snaps and what was asked of Redmond, I totally agree with you. I made the same point on Monday during Josh and Swain. I don't get it. I guess I know why Boo's not playing more snaps, but he's playing some. I thought Boo in the slot with McMurray out on the outside would have been better for the defense at different times, at least during the game. Yeah. They asked too much of Redmond. That's my opinion. Yes, though, to answer your question, I do feel better about Tennessee's football team than I did before the Georgia game or this time a week ago or before the season began. And I'll give you there are several reasons why, but simply I'll say the question I had at quarterback has been answered. Tennessee, I think, is better off at quarterback than it would have been with Nico, and it's better than I expected back in August. And he needs to continue to progress, Aguilar does, because defenses are going to look at things on film now and say, okay, maybe we can do this to cause him problems. But he's been terrific to start the season. The receivers are better than I expected. That was one of my concerns, and Brazzell deserves a ton of credit. I criticized him last year. I questioned him going into the season, and he has stepped up and responded, and he made big-time plays in that game. And Braylon Staley has done well, and Mike Matthews, I think, is going to end up having a good season. So they're good in that spot. Need to stay healthy with Rodarius Jackson already getting hurt this past week. But that top three, impressive. So the offensive questions, I think, have been answered very well at quarterback, at running back, and without Sanders, the offensive line overall has held up really well. So defensively, there are questions. I have concerns about health in a few areas. They need to get healthier. They need to avoid injuries. But overall, considering the schedule, what it is, I think still manageable. And what Tennessee had questions going in, I think they've been answered very well.
Josh Ward, you can catch him and VFL Jason Swain on 99.1 The Sports Animal, noon to 3 weekdays. Big game coming up on Saturday. What do you got coming up on the show this week?
Yeah, a lot of it is, okay, what do they correct out of the game on Saturday with the optimism that still exists? There's not a lot on the UAB game. It's more about how can Tennessee use this UAB game to get ready for a road trip to Mississippi State and everything coming up in SEC play. Because while Tennessee has a good chance to go win 10 games, get to a playoff, they still have a lot of work to do, and those teams are going to be well aware of how good Tennessee is now. So UAB and beyond is the focus, 12 to 3, Monday through Friday on Josh and Swain.
Josh, thanks so much, man.
You got it. Thank you.
That is Josh Ward again. Ward Wednesday, every Wednesday right here on Locked On Vols. Good show today. Appreciate you guys for being here. We'll see what Nola Taylor's got for Throwback Thursday tomorrow with Neal and Press Corps. And, of course, we continue to look ahead Tennessee football. We'll learn a little bit about UAB, but some big picture goals for this week. And like Josh just said, this week and beyond for Tennessee football. That's what's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols for your Thursday show. Thank you so much, and we'll do it again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.